brothers to another amazing Real Dads Club. Every Thursday, 7 p.m., we get together, we break bread, we talk, we bond, we're vulnerable. We have a special guest today. We have the good brother Hotep with us. And today's topic is the importance of representation when it comes to Black fatherhood in media, which is relevant, important, especially when you get into animation. Like we are talking earlier about the OGs who used to watch Looney Tunes back in the days, and how as a child, when we watch these animation, kind of formulate our perception on society in a way. And to the like myself and Paul, who's into like the anime, like the Dragon Ball Z's and stuff like that, it kind of shapes and mold what we think of the world, and it takes on as we become adults. And so we're gonna have Brother Hotep explain what he's doing to change that narrative when it comes to Black fatherhood in media, most importantly in animation. So, Brother Hotep, the floor is yours. If you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and just get into it. Go for it, brother.
All right. Well, good evening, fellas. It's good to talk to all of you. Good to see all you here. Man, it's a pleasure to be part of the Real Dads Network. I told Ishmael, man, anybody that's doing anything for the fathers, man, particularly Black fathers, I want to be a part of, especially now that I'm a father. You guys see the gray in my hair. When I say now that I'm a father, like, yeah, I started a lot later than my peers. My man said he's doing grandpa duty. I'm like, oh, shoot, man. A lot of my peers doing grandpa duty. I just turned 50 last year, and I have a 2-year, actually a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old now. So my boys, their birthdays are this month as well. They're 3 and 5, and I've been an educator for a long time, but now being a father in the household as well as outside in schools and classrooms, it's just, as you guys know, a totally different experience and perspective. And I'm glad to be part of the fraternity. You know what I'm saying? So with that. How do you want me to start? Do you want to start with the background? You want to start with the animation? I need you to direct me. It's not direct me, Ishmael. You got to put your mic back on. Put your mic. I can't even hear you. Like direct the conversation so I could follow.
Brother, the floor is yours. Let's start with the background and just take us in your world. So it's
Okay.
your
All right.
world, right, brother.
All right. So like it sounds from what I'm hearing, like a lot of you fellas here. I'm from New York myself. I'm from Long Island, born in Queens, moved out to the Long Island because my family moved on up like the Jeffersons. And so I was in Freeport, but my mother's side of the family was in Queens still. So and then as my parents moved further in their journey as husband and wife, they eventually got divorced. So as a young teen, me and my brothers were split between Long Island during the week, on the weekends, Queens and the Bronx, to where my father moved out to 161st Grand Concourse. So that was my upbringing. I came up I was born in the 70s, but my wonder years are the 80s. So anything you talk about 80s, I was part of everything, whether it's the TV shows, the cartoons, the video games, the comic books, the kung fu movies. That was me, man. I was into all of that. Anything that I could absorb as a teen, a young teen in the 80s, I was I was there 100%. You understand? To absorb it all. Um, Eventually got the chance to go to college. I moved down to Atlanta in '91 to attend Morehouse College. But graduated from Morehouse and became a school teacher. So since '97, I've been in education, public education. I've also been a long time entrepreneur. Almost as long as I've been an educator, I've been an entrepreneur as well. I started in the music industry, and so I was a part of that mid '90s, early 2000 movement, as in Atlanta in particular, in the industry, the independent hip hop industry, Ludacris's and Ti's and Outkast, Goody Mob. I was there neck and neck with all of them. Of course, they outpaced us. Outpaced me when it came to the popularity and getting to the higher levels of superstardom, but we were there in the beginning. You understand? And I transitioned. So I transitioned from the music industry to film. I shot a documentary. I have two documentaries under belt, working on a third one right now. And then from the documentary into publishing books. My first book is called Hustler's 10 Commandments. Most people that are in the business space and been around for a long time, particularly in Atlanta, know me through the Hustler's 10. Fast forward to fatherhood, my wife and I been married 23 years now. We had our first child 5 years ago, and we that was on purpose. We decided to wait. That was, we were taking that time to learn each other, learn about ourselves, learn about our careers, get things together, so that we can embrace fatherhood, parenthood in a way that minimize the drama and the stress and the pressure that comes along with parenthood. And one of the great things I learned, that I was just talking to a young blood earlier today, is, man, listen, I always advocate for waiting. You know what I'm saying? For waiting, because you know I could only imagine being a father in my 20s when I was out there hustling, like for real, like, trying to figure out entrepreneurship, trying to write my books, try to create all the things I was creating, trying to figure out who I am as a man, learning about, what kind of husband I want to be, figuring out our relationship. My point is, I was figuring out a whole lot of stuff in my 20s and 30s, man. The last thing I needed to try and figure out is how to be a parent. You understand? So now at this point in my life, now it just I'm not saying I'm perfect and I have everything, but I have a lot more than I did in my 20s, you understand? And I can imagine that I'm a much better father today as a result of, delaying that experience until we got ourselves to a point where, we feel confident that we can take on that championship level pressure. So, like many of you, and I'm gonna wrap it up here, Ishmael, because I'm sure the questions are gonna start coming. Unless you want me to stop here.
No, no, no. Keep going, because what I wanted you to do is just lead into what you're doing now when it
Yeah,
comes to uh the anime games and like the the comic books and stuff like that.
gotcha. So, like a lot of you guys, one of the great experiences we have as parents is the opportunity to relive our own childhood through our kids, or not even relive our own childhood, but to expose our children to the things that we came up on. So, I'm a new father. I'm exposing my children to Transformers, Thundercats, the original NES. I'm like, yo, hey, we used to play Mega Man. Mega Man is the thing, so Super Mario Brothers. They're seeing the new version of Super Mario Brothers, but I'm putting them down to the original NES. So I'm exposing them Dungeons and Dragons, all that stuff that we came up in the 80s. And my niece was living in our basement, and she was a big anime fan, and so she was exposing my children to some of today's anime. And when I asked her, well, what are they doing? Because I'm not an anime head. You know what I'm saying? At this point, my days of fandom were back then. So she's sharing some of the stuff that she's watching. I'm like, yo, hold on, I don't need you don't need to be showing that to my kids. You understand? Like, I don't. That's not appropriate for my children. It was too sexualized, too violent. And I don't know the topics and the issues that they were covering in some of that. Just I'm like, why are you showing that to my? I mean, it's a cartoon, but it's not the children. You understand? So that's when I really just decided that, um, you know, I'm a creator already. I've been writing books. I've been creating stuff with the other brands that I was doing for the schools. And I said, well, listen, if you guys like that, daddy can do that. That's just my attitude, right? Daddy can do that. So I just put all my experience and know-how into developing Black Lion and Cubs, which is a family-friendly anime brand. I started with the animation first and then worked backwards to developing video games with the characters, as you see in the background on this side here. Developing graphic novels, which will be available very soon, and just building out a whole an entire universe and brand centered around a father attempting to teach his sons how to navigate the world. And that's where we have Black Lion and Cub.
Nice, nice. But talk about, where did the title, the inspiration from the title Black Lion Cubs come from?
All right, so is anybody here a comic book head or used to be a comic book head from back in the day? All
Mhm.
right, we got at least one. So my father was big into Asian culture. You understand? Like, he put us down to Bruce Lee first. First it was Bruce Lee. Then he used to take us to 42nd Street where they had all those kung fu theaters. So we used to watch all those. You see, yeah, 40. Y'all remember Man, we used to go from theater to theater on weekends, man. And we bought the kung fu. We had the Shaolin outfits, the black outfits with the button down and the cuffs. We had all that. Bought the ninja stars with Shokasugi. Did ninja. I'm dropping the names. All y'all can y'all. This is like the first conversation I'm having where people can actually relate to what I'm saying. Because oftentimes when I'm being interviewed by people, they in their 30s, they don't know anything of what I'm talking about. So I'm really having fun here talking with y'all. So anyway, he put us down to Bruce Lee. Then we used to watch those kung fu movies. My point is, as we were collecting comic books, and we used to take our father to a spot called Forbidden Planet, and it was a big comic book store. I forget which part of where in the city it was, but we would expose him to some of the comic books we were reading, and so he started, just trying to stay related to his sons, started to look for comic books that he could relate to. So he picked up this comic book called Lone Wolf and Cub.
Mm.
Okay, Lone Wolf and Cub. It was drawn at the time by an artist named Frank Miller. Now I was a big fan of Frank Miller because he used to do stuff for Marvel and Wolverine and such. So I'm looking at Lone Wolf and Cub, and it's about a story about a samurai. I guess he was more of a Ronin because I don't think he had a master, right? And he had a young child, maybe like 3 years old, that he would carry, and he would push this cart through, the treacherous forest with his son, and he would teach his son how to use little gadgets in the carriage to fend off enemies and such. He teaches his son how to use a sword and all that. So in any case, when I had the opportunity to develop my own anime, when I saw the image that I had the first artist draw for me of my character and his sons, it just brought back that memory of a father and his sons, and a father as a protector, a father as a provider. It reminded me of Lone Wolf and Cubs. So that's where Black Lion and Cubs came from. The lion part is because of my hair, and people oftentimes referencing the fact that I look like a lion because of the hair and my nose, my features, you see. So that's how that came together.
That's amazing, man. And does anyone have a question from him or go ahead, Evan.
So yeah, this is why I go to these meetings. You didn't touch everything about me so far. So like, first of all, Gerard Avenue, 153rd Street. I know I've
Mm,
seen you a couple times. And then you talking about 42nd Street. You talking about the dollar kung fu movies, or you can
yes,
sneak into both theaters. When you hit one theater, you just walk into the other one through the side. That's
yes.
my whole era. And just like what you said about that, there wasn't that many comic book black comic books. So every time I come around one, I've been going to Comic Con since 2014. I want to say since 2014 to COVID. I'm going
Mm,
actually this year again. Um, every time I find some black artists that can pick a superhero that looks like me, I always snatch him up. And the guy that you mentioned, I want to say I have some of his stuff, but it
mm.
has to be in the crates of my storage somewhere. So like
Yeah,
I said, this
yeah.
is the reason why I show up, stuff like this. And
Amen.
are you a part of Man Up too?
Not that I'm familiar with. Nah. I mean, I've been around for a long time, especially when I wrote the Hustler's Ten Commandments. So when I wrote that book, and the popularity of that book really took me in many spaces that I can't even recall at this point. You see, but yeah, man. You said something really important. I didn't really reference it, but the design of the characters and why I created the characters the way they are is because for multiple reasons. But when you watch anime, and like when we came up in anime, as Brother Ishmael said, I didn't really pay attention to it because it was what it was. But you didn't see us in any of these shows that I reflected in any of these shows that I just mentioned, right? We were not present at all. I mean, there was none of us. And the thing is, I didn't think nothing of it because that's just how life was. Voltron, one of my favorites. You ain't never see a black face in Voltron. I love Voltron to death. You understand? But I never saw us. Some of my favorite shows, Three's Company, never saw us. Married with Children, Cheers, you never saw us. You understand? And we just had that. That was just life. But now, as a grown man, as an educator, as a father, I've heard a statement, and I'm gonna share this with you guys because you guys really, if you haven't heard it already, it's gonna be transformative. It was from Frederick Douglass, who said, "It's easier to build strong children than repair broken men." I'll say it again, Frederick Douglass. If you, when you hear this statement, always remember where it comes from. Frederick Douglass said, "It's easier to build strong children than repair broken men." I've dedicated my life to focusing on the building of strong children. From an educator, when I taught elementary school, fourth grade, fifth grade, I taught kindergarten. And now, as a father myself, I know how important it is the early years of a human being's life, right? And pouring into that, being intentional and thoughtful about what you surround young people with, because they're going to sponge, they're sponges and they're going to soak it all up. So when I had the opportunity to do this and I saw there were no faces like us in anime, I said there was no question of what my characters were going to look like. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be no question about the infusion of our culture, African culture, in the storylines to make sure that we represent. You know what I'm saying? I come from that era. Represent. You understand? I come from that era like you guys. Keep it real, right? Nowadays, no one cares about reality. Everything is artificial intelligence and virtual reality. But we come from a generation where reality was the real was the standard, and I'm always going to keep it that way. So thank you for your comments, big brother, and that's the reason why I'm happy to be here with the fellas like you.
Definitely. Anyone has a question? Paul, you got a question? Oh, Kiara, go ahead, Kiara. You're on mute.
How you doing, brothers? Good evening.
Yeah.
How you doing, Hotep? Thank you for your
Good.
story. I'm from the Bronx myself, born and raised Castle Hill houses,
Right.
Castle Hill and Randall. My cousin, I'm glad that you're doing this. My cousin, on my father's side, I don't know if you ever heard of the comic book Black on Odina.
No, I haven't.
This is I don't know if you can see it, but my cousin is the creator, founder of that. He's had it for several years now, but I know it's been tough for him. It's out there in the market, but for African Americans when it comes to comics, I know it's a tough business to 100% break into. But he's down in the South, and I just thought, I know he goes to those. I don't know if it's called Comic Cons, but where the comic book people get together. So I don't know, do you do that as well and travel, or have you gotten to that point yet, or you've been there, done that? I met this ball. There's no nobles here, so I gotta go in the back. I don't know if he's frozen. Good. Why is that my problem?
Did he? I think he
got he dropped out, but he probably plugged back in.
Yeah, so I'm gonna call it. But did you hear the question where Alvin posed a question to you? What was the inspiration behind the symbols on the bandana?
Yeah, so first, thank you for asking that question. It's funny. Check it out. I was at a school today, and this school purchased, I have books for, featuring these characters. And is that me? Oh, no, okay. So yeah, I have books featuring the characters. So the school purchased books for all their teachers. And the principal had come back to me just yesterday and said, Hotep, listen, before you do this assembly for our children, I want you to know that I had a couple of teachers that had problems with the imagery in your book. And I said, well, what imagery are you talking about? They said the symbolism, what I'm saying, bothered them. I'm in deep South, deep rural, town here. And she said, basically, because they're not familiar with these symbols and such, they kind of saw it as something anti-Christian, if you will. You see what I'm saying? And and I get it, because a lot of these teachers, they didn't look like us and they had not studied our culture. And so obviously there's an opportunity now to educate them on what those symbols are. My question is, while I'm okay with them not being comfortable with it, I hope they're equally uncomfortable when someone talks about Greek mythology and talks about all the gods and goddesses that the Greeks have, right? I hope they have have an equal issue when that comes up, right? Or when that's introduced to their kids and them. And also Harry Potter, right? Talking about demons and witches and werewolves and all that, warlocks and all that. So if you're going to play Christian and be holier than thou and have problem with the Egyptology and the Egypt mythology and such, hopefully that's consistent. If it's not, that's a whole nother conversation and issue that needs to be dealt with at that school. That being said, let me do I have permission? I can show you the screen and then show you those symbols and then talk about that.
Yeah, go
imagery
for it. I made you.
All right.
Yeah, you're a co-host. Go for it.
All right, hold on. All right, let me share the screen and I'll bring it up. Okay, can you guys see the screen?
Yep, we can see it. Make sure you share the sound.
Well, I'm not going to play the sound right now. I'm just going to show you the symbols. So over here on my left here, this is called the duat. It's a symbol known as duat, D-U-A-T. It's a symbol represented with the star and the sun, right? And so this symbol is a symbol of rebirth. That's a symbol, the duat is the underworld, right? And so the underworld in Egypt, Egyptian mythology is run by Osiris, and he's got Horus and Anubis and Thoth down there in the underworld. And so the sun in Egyptian mythology, the sun and the stars at nighttime go to the underworld, and then they come back in the day, right? So that's the whole movement, and that's the whole symbolism of the rebirth. The stars move away, and then they come back. So that's the duat, the symbol of the underworld and rebirth. This here is the eye of Ra. Ra is the sun god in Egyptian mythology, and so here we have the sun god Ra, R-A, and this is the Ankh, the symbol of everlasting life. And those are the three symbols there. And so again, like I said, this brand is a family-friendly anime brand. I wanted to make sure that it was empowering to our children and our culture, and so that's the reason why I use these symbols in the character development.
I say excellent.
Thank you.
Eye of Ra, that's the one that caught me. The Eye of Ra, I see it everywhere. Actually, I used to draw that one because of the symbol. It's that one that just catches you.
Yeah, so there's two actually. There's the Eye of Ra and there's the Eye of Horus. So there's two of them, and I don't remember the distinction between the two. There is a distinction. I don't remember what it is, but just be clear, just so you know, there's the Eye of Ra and there's the Eye of Horus, and they look very similar.
Nice. Did another brother have another question? Or if not, we could go into the 5-minute screening.
Okay, you guys want, so if you guys are open to this, I'd like to share with you a short film that I developed to provide.
That damn Houston internet.
That Austin messing them up.
Seriously.
They got Derek internet on there, man.
Oh, other than the 5-year-old, everybody watches the anime. So I see those same symbols everywhere. Matter of fact, on 161st Street right now, somebody's selling the symbol of the main character with the eye right now on a bandana on 161st Street. Right now. I forgot what brand it is, but that's why
No, that's why I'm telling you, check out the Brooklyn Museum, come to that second floor, third floor. Saturday, I went in there, the Egyptian art cut in thick is engraved in these stones. They got the eyes, everything, all the different symbols in these stones. It's coming from Egyptian, but you know what's so powerful? They even got mummies in there. They got a mummy in there, and they got the tombs. So you get to really see how they did it back then. But it's very interesting because this is the origin of some of our roots. So it's excellent to use it.
Definitely. Did you hear about it, man?
Hotep, so where do you live now?
I live in Atlanta. I still live in Atlanta. I never left since '91, but I tour a lot as a speaker and a consultant to schools and school districts. So right now I'm currently sitting here in Houston.
Nice. I appreciate your work, man. I want to ask you again about the message. So that intro, that's the constant intro. So with your messaging, what other things are you saying? Like we watch these shows every day. The kids watch it. They've been programmed to hear these messages. Anything else you're saying in the background like that?
Yes, sir. So the whole message is, and it's funny because I actually, when I was editing the video, made sure that I took out any sound effect noises. Like if you listen to the first half of the intro, you hear the powers, the sound effects for the powers. But in the half where I'm actually doing the speaking, I remove that so there's no confusion. The message is, when it's time and there's no one else, you have to rely on yourself. And when you feel afraid, don't you ever forget that true power always comes from within. And so that's the message. And again, this is all very personal for me, because at the end of the day, all of this is created from a space of love and the love for my own children. So that's really a message, a very personal message that I want my two sons to remember. You understand? And it's because, at this age, 3 and 5, you're scared of the dark. You know what I'm saying? You be alone. You know what I'm saying? People don't like you. You don't know what to do. So I just want, always remember that, you have the power to affect change in this world, and remember to be confident and believe in yourself.
Nice.
And you know what's funny? We have a brother. He isn't on tonight. His name is Light Skin. He's a artist. He has a record called Energy. INNER. He got an album called Energy in a big capital G, and it's saying the same thing.
Well, the truth is, as some of you guys can appreciate, there's actually a science to success, man. It's scientific. And when you understand that science and start applying it, success is just as predictable as 1 + 1 = 2, right? And so that's the reason why, when you have people that have understood the wisdom, have been blessed to to study it or learn it through experience and such, you start to hear the same messaging over and over again. People might use different language. They might, speak through a different lens, but the message is always the same, because it's a science, man. It's just based off of pure science.
I agree. I always say science and mathematics. That's what I taught my kids. It's what runs the world. It's what God is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Indeed.
Thanks. This has been an amazing conversation, Hotep. I appreciate you. Before we end, do any brothers in the room that haven't spoke has any comments or questions? The floor is yours.
Well, Hotep, man, I just want to say thank you, man. I just been sitting back in the cut, just listening to what you were doing. And man, you took it back, gave me some nostalgia, man, back in the 80s watching this. It's funny because I've been, I watch a little anime, and you're right, man. We was never represented in these things. Even going back, I can't even remember like even seeing us in anything. I mean, the most in anime that I used to watch back in the day was like, and I was excited. I'm like, this cartoon came out called Static Shock, and he was black. And I'm like, man, you got a black superhero. Then MC Hammer came out with something like he had powers doing stuff, his Hammer show. And then I'm looking, I mean, it was so bad that I was even trying to find blackness in characters that wasn't there. So when I was watching Thundercats, I'm like, man, Panther my favorite. He black. And I didn't know he was a black one. His
voice, like, he had a little bass to his voice.
Yeah, black. I'm like, where were we represented in a lot of these shows? And I'm glad, it's refreshing to see that we have, these characters, these animation, these anime characters where we're represented, and have stories and backgrounds and missions, and have like side stories and personal thoughts and feelings, because we exist, we are here, represent us in these kind of cartoons and animation. So I'm glad what you're doing, brother. Just keep it up. I love it,
man. Thank you, big brother. It's when you doing something that's pure, coming from a space of love, it feels, it's good to get accolades from other people, but the accolades hit different when it comes from your own people. You understand? And so, it means a lot to me to hear that from you guys. And I also wanted to touch on something one of the other brothers mentioned. I forgot who, but he was right. You see the ancient African symbolism on, European and Asian cartoons. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, hold on. You would think, because see, this is what they do, right? People, they love our stuff, and they hijack it. And if you don't know better, you would think some of these symbols were Asian or European. You understand? Because, you know, unless you already know, but the fact of the matter is these are African symbols from an African religious and spiritual construct. We created this stuff, and I can't sit back in good faith and consciousness and have the ability to create something and allow these other people to steal what we create. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to allow that to happen not on my watch, as fathers say, right? Not on my watch. So, you know, so let me ask you all this. I'm gonna just ask you all to do me a favor. I'm not asking for no money. This is what I want. If you like what we're doing with Black Lion and Cubs, just follow the IG, man, and get on IG, because that's the only social media that I'm on, and let the world know we're here. Share it with your friends and family. You can actually watch it. My man said he had a 5-year-old. You can watch the cartoon on a network called Black Education Station. Oh, I should have talked about that earlier. A lot of people don't know there's an entire network like Netflix called Black Education Station. It's Black owned. All the content is created by Black people for the education of our children, young children from ages 0 to 10. So, you know, if you got Netflix, you got, you know, Hulu, all that, you should definitely have Black Education Station just off GP that it exists. And like I said, it works and operates just like Netflix, and my anime is on their network.
That's dope. That's
great. What's your Instagram handle?
At Black Lion and Cubs. I'm gonna let me see if I can type it in the chat. Yeah.
Put your number in there too. I'm gonna holler at you this weekend.
All right, here we go. At Black Lion and Cubs. You'll see. You'll know it's mine because you see my face on everything else over there. So that's the IG. The website for Black Education Station. Let me just put that there for you guys here. Highly recommend. Like, yo, it's everything that we wanted to see. You know, everything that we've been asking for and wanted to see, it's done already. We have our own. We got our own Netflix. We ain't got to wait for Netflix to do it for us. We ain't got to be waiting. We ain't got to wait for Disney to include us, like my man said, for their diversity, you know, agenda. Nah, we already got our own. And then the last thing, my number here is the number right here.
Got it.
Ron, you got your hand up, brother. You're going to end this amazing conversation, Ron. And real fast, Leo, he was Black because the man who voiced him is Earl Heyman. I think Earl Heyman. He was the father of Bill Cosby in the Cosby Show.
See, thank you for that information. See, even without knowing that, I knew in my heart he was Black. I knew Panthro was Black, man.
Hotep, follow me back, brother. Follow me back. It's fine.
All right, cool.
And you know what's crazy? I think our first Black cartoon was the Jackson 5 cartoon on Saturday. Maybe the Jackson 5.
Yeah, right.
Back in the 70s, man.
Yeah. Ron, you
I just wanted to say real quick, thank you. I was off camera because I was cooking, but I was listening, and I did have the pleasure of seeing your videos ahead of time through Ish in email, and it was awesome. And I was amazed by the how polished and original it. I felt like I was looking at something on television. And I was not seriously I was just really impressed with it. And then but aside from that, I think we all share that sentiment. You know, the imagery that you guys have been talking about, I agree, it's so powerful. I took my daughter to Egypt last summer for her 13th birthday, and you know, everything that we saw, all of the pyramids and the tombs, and everywhere where we looked, like it was just these moments of just like take a step back and like understand how long ago we created this. You know, like there's symbols in there that's so powerful, and I'm very familiar with the ones you use, but like there's some you know, hieroglyphics that talk about, that show imagery of things you could only see on a microscope.
Yes.
So like, you know what I mean? It's just like so understanding that we're powerful beyond measure, and then to relate it to the anime and the superheroes, but like the superheroes actually within us. Like I just think there's so many different levels to what you're putting out, and again, I just, you know, thank you, and you know, I'm going to share it with my daughter and my nephew, and yeah, I agree with what Doug said. You know, like obviously going to Egypt and the museums is one thing, but like I'm down the block from the Brooklyn Museum, and they got some cool stuff, man. You really gotta connect with, you know, where we came from. Anyway, so I'll leave it at that. But just, you know, 1,000 thanks, because we need the powerful imagery, the messages, and everything that you delivered. It's just needed.
Thank you, big brother.
Definitely.
Let's do it again, Ish. I'd love to show that intro story, man, because big brother here, he just alluded to something that's really that is discussed in that that short film. So anytime I'm here, man, I'm available. I'm ready to rock and roll. We can make this thing bigger, do something in person, you know, get the fellas and get the young boys out here. You know what I'm saying? The young boys before they become fathers, man. You know, and have those conversations with them. I'd love to, you know, bridge the gap between generations as well.
Definitely. We'll make it happen. This has been a dope conversation. Brothers, did you enjoy it? I'm throwing it to you guys.
Oh yes, beautiful.
I don't hear the energy. Did you guys?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. All right. Man. Hotep, thank you, brother. You're definitely gonna be back on again. Again, this has been dope. I love you guys. See you guys next Thursday. Next Thursday is Barbershop Talk. Also, I put the link in there if you haven't got your tickets for Real Dads Week, because like me and Puma said, it's basically around the block. So if you haven't got your tickets, get your tickets. June 1st to June 8th, we got a lot going on that week. But before that, we have the poetry event coming up. So check all that stuff out. And I love you guys.